I had, yeah, multiple times that I told people. My first, obviously my parents were really good with it. I told my family, so I have 3 brothers that I'm really close with, and my aunt and grandma happened to be there that I'm really close with, and we had a dinner, and then I actually had my dad be the one that said, Starley's pregnant and she's deciding to place the baby for adoption, and my whole family was just so supportive and crying. And but my grandma said, she said, well, Starley, you've always loved kids and you've always wanted to be a mom to, you know, tons of kids. She said, you're not going to be able to place this baby for adoption.
Oh, she said that? I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, in my heart, I knew, nope, that's what I am doing. And, you know, that's what's best for the child. And I just told her, Grandma, this is what's best for her. You know I love kids, but I know I'll have children of my own someday. And another story, my good friend at that time, I told her what my plan was, and she doesn't have any kids, but she has a dog. And she said, I would never be able to do that with my dog. And I'm like, your dog? And I mean, I have a dog now, and yes, I treat her like, you know, one of my children, but I'm like, dog is a little different than a baby. So I definitely not say that. But I think if I had someone come up to me, which I actually have had a few people say that that was their plan, now that I've placed for adoption, I just try and support them and love them, and what can I do for you? And, you know, how can I help you? And, you know, because it is hard, but it's such a blessing. So then I try and tell them that it's been a blessing in our lives.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you're telling your story, because you're going to help a lot of people, because it is a difficult dilemma. When we found out that Starley was pregnant, she presented that to us. I went to my church group and basically said, I'd like to talk to the ladies here in the church group. And I made an announcement to them because I didn't want them talking back and forth. I thought it was just really important to be upfront about it, to head on and talk about it, deal with it, and ask them for their help and support. And they came out of the woodwork to help her and to encourage her. There's a tremendous amount of strength from others.
We experienced the same thing, didn't we? Mm-hmm. There was not a negative voice, I think, in all of the people that we told, with one exception. At school, I have a teacher that I teach with. She's actually in the classroom next door, and when she found out, she came to me and she said, how could you give up a child? How could you do that? Isn't there some way you could help her? And I said, well, I think we are helping her. We're helping her make, you know, her decision. And you have to understand that we believe that children were meant to be in a home with 2 parents, a father and a mother. And Lindy doesn't have that right now. And she said, well, someday she will. And I said, someday she will, but that's not now. And we think that we're always looking for the best choice for the baby. The baby needs to be considered, and it was very hard for her to understand, because she just felt like we could help raise that child. But you know what? I wasn't going to quit my job to raise my granddaughter. I wasn't, and neither was my husband. He wasn't going to do that. And that left it solely on Lindy's shoulders, and that would have been a tremendous burden for Lindy. And
I think it's important to understand that those who are pregnant and those who create pregnancy are the ones that are responsible for what happens. It is Starley's responsibility. We're the parent, but that's it. We're the parent. She's responsible for her decisions, and the boy is responsible for his decisions, and we have to just be able to be supportive but not take over.
Mm-hmm. But we too had great experiences with people in our neighborhood, people in our church. I remember I had to give a lesson one Sunday after Lindy had just barely started to show and came to church, and not everyone knew about it. But I couldn't sit with her. I had to stand and was teaching this lesson, and I watched as one after another came and sat by her. She had two people with arms around her on both sides, people behind her patting her, loving her. And when that lesson was over and we all stood up to leave the room, she had one hug after another and just kisses and loves and so much support. Tell them about what Luann did for you.
This really nice lady, my mom's ward, she gave me a box, and it's huge, it's like this big, and it had a poem in it and a story about how she felt about adoptions, and in it was like different items. Like she gave I think I still have the box at my house too, but it was like packed full with like chocolate, lotions, perfumes, jewelry, like stuffed animals, a flower, everything. Just showing that I could like talk to her, and I can't remember the poem, but it's at my house. But it's like it's a long one talking about like the love for adoption,
and she had been an OB nurse, and she had watched women who had given birth and they were planning on placing their child have that baby taken away and never seen again. And when she found out that Lindy's was going to be an open adoption, she just said, oh, if only they'd been doing this 20 years ago, 30 years ago.